So this is a simple input and output video. We already did some simple operations with input output, like for example we did the print input with the standard IN. So let us build on top of that. We saw the line input operator in scalar context reading a line at a time. We also saw in a list context reading all the lines remaining up to the end of the file. So what if we have a lot of inputs on your standard input? We don't want to pull all this into the memory and consume the way too much memory. We can actually write a loop that is nothing more than putting a lot of things that we already learned together and show it to you. So for example here what I wrote is a scalar line, bring whatever we have from the standard input, define it as a local variable, then show that input that take off the new line. Now to do this is a loop function would be better because I can act on the input file each line at a time. So here what we did, we have a scalar line, we are reading from the standard input, but what we are checking here if we are reaching the end of file or not. So as long as we are not at the end of the file, which is Control D in Mac, Control Z in Windows, continue in this loop. Here I can print, for example, each line at a time. So this is so simple. Now what else? We can short this statement by just using the scalar underscore. As you remember, so we'll read from the input and automatically we'll put in that scalar, and the same concept I can check if it's defined or not. As a matter of fact, you can directly just loop the while statement to read from the input line operator and you can act upon it. Now you have to make sure not to confuse it with for each standard input. Both those are similar to each other but not 100%. The while statement, it read one line, put it in the memory, then it consume it, then read another line which is only 8 bytes actually in memory. However, the for each, what it does, it read the whole file. So if you have a log file with 8 gigabytes, it's gonna read it all and put it in the memory, so you will be in real trouble. Then we'll act for each line separately. So be careful whenever you read the file. It is better to use the while statement. I don't want you to see you that you are using the for each statement. Now what else? We can also use some similar filters that if you are familiar with Unix in exactly inside our files. So for example, if you are using the arguments, and this comes from C actually too, so the concept of reading files with arguments is very popular in Unix or in C. So actually if you just leave the parameter that we saw from the standard input here without any parameters, without the input file, just which is named as a diamond, it knows that it's going to read from different files. So here I'm saying while I am reading from the input, continue work on those files. How I can invoke this command? For example, if I'm saying this is my file, read from my file, from my current program, the file named Fred, then another file called Barney, then the last one Betty. So we'll read all the lines, we'll consume whatever included in that file, then we'll consume all the lines in the second file, then the last one. Even if I took off Bernie and instead of it I just add the dash, this will be considered the standard input, which is the keyboard. So my files will read the first Fred, then we'll wait for the keyboard entry. So I will enter a couple of commands line maybe. Then when I'm done, I'm closing the file, Control D, and then we'll go and read for Betty and finish the reading in this way. Very, very simple. Now as I said, the popular way is to read using the arg command line. So how we can use it, it's very similar. It's just read whatever next to your file as argument is considered. Also you can take the first element and compare it. If it's like it has, for example, when you enter the file, maybe you want to check if the input file is the right name, it's not the wrong one. So in this case I am checking if it's -v, I want to get rid of it. So here I am saying that's the type of variables. I'm giving the value equal 1, and I'm shifting the value from the array, which is in this case the add argument value. So here in this, we are not using it inside the subroutine, we are using it in the main program, so it knows the shift that is going to work on the argument variable. So we'll shift -v, and then we'll read the file next, which is the right one that's going to read the command line. So we'll keep reading all the line and processing it. We can also not only use the print command that we are used to it, the output command. There is a printf that will give us the formatting to the output, and this is by using the percentage and some kind of formatting. So for example, you have this S for the string, F for the float, G for general, D for decimal, and E for exponential, and there are some more. You can look at it in the book. So here, for example, I'm going to print hello, and then we'll wait for the string to print it out, then your password expires, and then wait for a decimal. Even if I give it 4.9, for example, will trunc it for me, will print only the 4 and then the days. Just to note here, if you want to really to print the percentage in your output, you don't use percentage backslash, this is what we think should be the typical way, like we use the /n. Actually in Perl you have to use double percentage. File handle is what we really need in the time being, because we learned how we can actually, as we said here, how we can enter the commands from the file. We can read the file, we can open it, and then what we really want, we want to act upon it. So how can we really handle the file? There is a command line, name it open. So we have to open the file by this command. Just to make sure that this is conventional, that and Larry made up this one, that if you want to use files, try to use them with a capital handle. So the capital letter, uppercase. There are 6 reserved words under input and output, standard error, the data, and argument v, argument out. Those are reserved in keywords in Perl, so avoid those, but anything else you would like to use, you can use it. Okay, so in this case what we are saying, we're gonna open a file named input file, and I'm gonna put the results in my handle. So my handle is gonna handle whatever is inside this maybe text file or input file.txt, for example, and I have to put the direction. If I say less than, that means this is an input file. Whatever I want to have in my handle will be getting it inside my program from a file named input file. If I put the greater, this file will be the output file. If I put double greater, will be append. So whatever I have before will append on top of it this information, new information. Be careful when you put the right signal sign, will erase whatever you had before in that file. So when you open it, automatically, even if you had plenty of text in it, will be erased. So what else? Now I have to mention here that the open return a successful operation, true or false. So I can use it to check if really I was able to open the file. Maybe I have an error happen in the operating system. Maybe the file name is wrong. Maybe the directory I am in is wrong. So for example, here I can save this value of open my handle less than input file semicolon. I can save it in a scalar, name it opened, and I may name it locally, and then check if the value returned from this. And as you can see, with being $sign open. If this value that is returned is true, that means I was able to open it. If it's not true, that means I wasn't able to open it. Every time you open a file, you have to remember at the end to close it. So this will flash away all the data in the memory, and make sure that you close the file the right way. Now we learned how to open and close a file. We have to work on it, we have to use it. Before going more detail, we have to use something that would prevent us from having problems. So this scalar that we named open, we can actually use it to know what kind of error is appearing. So let's say I misspelled the name of the file. There's a very nice function named die I can call, and I can put this parameter, which is the $sign and then Bing. This is the operator. It has a lot of operators behind the $sign that can be used for alert functions. Here what it does actually will give me the actual error in the operating system. So if the file name is wrong, will tell me file not found. If the directory is invalid, will tell me directory is invalid. If there is some different type of errors, will show it to me. This is very useful, especially when you are crawling a website, you want to see those files and you're not sure maybe the path to that file is wrong. So we'll send really a diagnostic standard error for me from the operating system, telling me exactly what type of error, and also will tell me where is this error in my code. So I will know if I have multiple input files, I will know which one didn't work well. So what else? Now if you don't have a really fatal error and you just want to get a warning, maybe the number of lines not what you're expecting, you can use, instead of die, you can use warn. But most of the time people use die, will not use warn. Now let us use a file. Okay, so here what I'm doing, I'm assigning the whatever I have inside the file, my handle, to a scalar named oneLine. So in this case, if I put this statement inside the loop, so every time I am getting one value, line value, until the end of the line, and I printed it out or working on it. Now the standard output, which is what we typically see, if I want to use the output instead of standard output to another file, which is maybe my handle, I have to select it. So there is a function named select. Just select my handle. What it return, actually it returned the old handle. So usually the old handle is the standard output, which is the one we print to it. So we'll keep it, the old one, standard output, inside the scalar old. Otherwise, if I print this one, print goes to my handle, I'm printing inside a file, name it my handle. But if I want to return and continue my work and I keep printing and I cannot see the print out, I have to remember that I have to select back the standard output. So here I am selecting the old one again and telling Perl, go back to your normal standard output. I don't want to print to the file anymore. And here printing to the file as if you are writing into the file. Last thing I want to mention here, that as you notice, most of the time we are using print, always we are adding /n at the end of the line, so we'll return to the new line. They figured out that this is really annoying for people, so they come up with a new function for print, which is say hello world without the /n. You don't have to put /n, automatically will accept the /n. And you have to be careful, you have to put on top of your code that we are using the 5.0110. So starting from that version is using this one. Even if you installed a new Perl version, you have to put that statement on top. So that's it so far for very simple input-output introduction. We'll see after this video the hash, which is one of the most powerful features in Perl.